Today I'm going to show you the Pentax K-5. K-5 is the successor, of course, to the K-7. It has pretty much the same body as the K-7. There are a few differences. Up here, this selector of all the standard controls like program slightly taller, so it's easier to use. Nice improvement. Down here at the bottom with the selector that you can pick continuous autofocus or single shot autofocus, they improved that. They made it slightly larger. It's easier to use. That's a good improvement too. Overall, the body is great ergonomically. It's really solid. It's got the magnesium alloy casing on the back. It's actually, there is some polycarbonate plastic, but that's just the back panel. And the up here, the extended flash is some type of plastic. But besides that, it's all magnesium alloy on a steel frame. Extremely solid feeling in the hands. The great thing about the K-5 is that it's small for such a powerful semi-pro body. You can easily use it one-handed. And here I have a 40mm f2.8 prime lens. Let me take off the filter. Just show you how extremely small you can get with the K-5 and a small prime lens like the 40mm. See that profile on there? Extremely small, really fast. This camera has 7 frames a second burst mode, in the continuous shooting. A 16 megapixel Sony sensor. They switched back to Sony from the Samsung sensors that they used in the K20D in the K7. So this Sony sensor is probably one of the best out there right now. Probably the 12,000-ish ISO. You could probably get some nice photos out of that with some noise reduction software. For an APS-C camera, extremely strong image quality. I especially like the dynamic range at 80 ISO. Great for landscape photos or really pretty much anything. That's the main benefit of the K5 over the K7, is that all of that internal improvement. It's faster autofocus, it's got the great sensor and everything like that. So definitely improvement over the K7 with all of the benefits of the K7. The K5 is kind of like a transformer camera, I'd say. It's really small initially, which is great for many situations, but if you want to use a larger flash or something, you can always get a secondary grip, which I have here. I'll show you what it looks like on the camera. Secondary grip has all of the standard controls as the main body has, which are used in the vertical position. So you put those pieces in there. There's a little gasket on the bottom of the camera you can pull off and place in the grip. So you just lock it down with your tripod mount. So as I was saying, it's kind of like a transformer camera. Now I've got a larger, more beefy camera. It's got great feel to it. The extra stuff on the bottom helps with single-handed holding of the camera. Then you can go vertical with it with all the controls up here. So if you're interested in K5, it's definitely great for various situations. When you want to go small and inconspicuous or easily unnoticed, you just go with the main body, something tiny like this 40mm prime lens. Or you could go with such as this 85. They don't currently sell the 85 1.4, but you can buy, there's a Sigma version available, which is probably just as good as the older Pentax version. But the point is, with the grip, you got the K5 here, got a nice, really substantial lens. It's easy to hold. It fits well either way. Solid, really solid feel to it, which is important with semi-pro cameras. So let's look at the K5 in some up-close detail to look at the ergonomic layout and such of the camera. Up here you have the image control functions. You press that and it shows a review icon. You can go back and forth and switch between photos. You can also use the control wheels. Scroll through and then just hit the trash icon when you're fully zoomed out to delete. Over here we've got the green button, which is a Pentax feature. The green button allows you to reset things or get a exposure in manual mode one time. So if you press the green button in manual, you'll get a kind of a good estimate of where you want to be. It also resets things, so like if you have a +2 increase in exposure or something like that, you can just press the green button while you're holding the exposure compensation button down, and it'll reset that to 0. Same thing with ISO. And down here with this dial here, it goes from auto. These are all the selectable points and things for autofocus. And then the live view button. See my chair. It's a little awkward. Same thing with the K7, the live view button. Sometimes I accidentally press that. But and then down here you've got the main controls where they're multifunction. If you're in the menu, they work as movement buttons, but if you're just outside the menu, you've got white balance, all these different settings. The camera itself has really good auto white balance, so I don't usually deviate from that, but it's in there. And then tone, I usually just have standard because I shoot RAW. Then flash, this Pentax cameras have built-in wireless flash that uses the flash itself to control the slave flashes. 1/180th of a second flash sync maximum. So there's an X sync control up here that'll fix it to 180th of a second. You've got that dial there for autofocus, live view, autofocus button on the back, where you can just use that button instead of the main half press on your shutter release. I didn't mention the timer, where you can select high speed, low speed. Actually, I'll do that real quick. Let's go high speed, 7 frames a second. Put the camera in manual focus just so it goes fast. So that's 7 frames a second. Now it's filled the buffer. That's quite a few frames to fill the buffer. I don't know exactly how many the K-5, but it's quite a few raw frames. Moving along to the side here, SD card port. Just like the K7, it's a little difficult to use sometimes. Just have to let the camera pop out by itself. It's easy to pull out. But if you hold your finger on it while you're pulling it out, sometimes you have to kind of wiggle it a little bit to pull out. It's all the weather sealing and all that. And then you've got the external shutter release cable port. Nice solid grip area. Pretty good material that they put on there. Main wheel, you have 2 different wheels to control. Functions based on what mode you're in. You got the raw FX button, which means you can switch between different raw modes or change the button itself to do different things based on what options you have in the menu. PC sync port for flash pop-up button, and then the control for focus, single shot, continuous, or manual focus. Got the main dial up here, all different modes like X sync, manual, TV, AV, SV, P, and all those movie mode. And then you have a switch here right below it for metering. 3 different modes. This camera has the same 77 segment meter as the K7. And you got the ports here. HDMI that works in video and live view. Another port for composite that does not work in video. And then you've got the DC power input with an optional power brick that you can buy for the camera. Nice large 3-inch LCD. I believe it's 920,000 something pixels. It's pretty sharp, decent quality, good for live view and all that. The viewfinder is 100% coverage, so semi-pro cameras, you got the 100% coverage of viewfinder. That's important. It has 92x magnification on it. Exposure compensation button up here, ISO button with the shutter release. Really great positioning for those two important functions. Then you've got the scroll wheel. Over here you've got the AEL to fix the exposure, lock it down, and then the second wheel. Those two different wheels control functions up here on top. So there are the lens contacts where information is passed. AF for screw drive type lenses. That locks in and then it actually spins the focus ring. STM contacts. The mount is wide enough that you've got some weather sealed lenses that have an extra seal to prevent water intrusion, or at least resist water intrusion. And you've got the button here for lens release. You can see that move down when I press it up here. PC sync port. There's the logo, K-5 logo. Mic port, I forgot to mention that. That's got external microphone. You can have input. So in video mode you can be recording from an external microphone. All these control buttons back here. Image review, trash button. If you're in selectable point autofocus, depending on your menu settings, these will either initially be controlling which point, or they will be their standard things, and you'll have to hold down that OK button, and then the functionality switches to selecting the point. Sensor cleaning, we're out. So here is the imaging sensor, APS-C sized. There we go. It has built-in shake reduction, so the sensor itself moves back and forth. A recent improvement with it's only good for the K-5 and the more recent KR camera and even the 645D. There is an add-on that does GPS. But the interesting thing is with the K-5, you can do astro tracking with the GPS in the K-5. The sensor itself has that shake reduction, but they move the sensor and it tracks the stars. So that's an interesting feature. From what I've read, it works pretty decent at getting a longer exposure. So the shake reduction has got a wide variety of uses. You can use it in movie mode. You can use it with pretty much any lens, even manual lenses. You input the focal length, and then all the shake reduction is still available. It's a pretty nice feature with the Pentax cameras. The K-5's probably got the best shake reduction out of the whole line. The K-5 is a solid value right now. It's going down in price quite a bit, and probably nearing the end of its life, and it'll probably be replaced soon, but like I said, it's a really solid value. It's still got one of the best sensors out there right now on APS-C. Besides that, it's got 1080p video, although oddly it's only 25 frames a second, but it's pretty good quality video. Settings wise, in video mode, they aren't that great. However, there is exposure compensation, which you can vary the exposure, and then there's the exposure lock, which I use quite a bit in video mode. So that locks down the exposure. You don't get the kind of pulsing effect as the camera tries to adjust signal gain. So you just lock down the exposure. That's basically how I use the camera when I'm taking video. It has all of the great ergonomics of the K7. It has the better sensor. It's faster in autofocus and in frames per second. It's got 5 user modes. Has a lot more settings in the camera to adjust noise reduction and similar functions compared to the K7 and the older Pentax cameras. quite a few forum postings lately where people who use a 5D or 5D Mark II are interested in something smaller, and they know that the K5 has great features like weather resistance and all those semi-pro things they're used to, but in a smaller camera. So of course they kind of skipped the K7 because of the sensor problems, but the K5 has all of those features, plus it ties everything together in one of the best cameras Pentax has made so far. So even if you're one of those guys with a 5D Mark II, you're interested in something smaller with solid quality and it's fast, great high dynamic range images, the K5 is something to check out.